y'all, welcome back to my channel, Wandering with God. If you're new here, my name is AJ and I come on this platform to share revelations that the Lord gives me as I'm growing into a deeper relationship with Him. So yes, I am back with another story time / lessons learned video, and y'all, the Lord is about to have me out here sharing my business. There's some things I just don't like to touch on, but He's like, no, you're going to be open and transparent about this. So I'm like, all right, Lord, I'm going to be obedient. So y'all bear with me. But I will be touching on just an example of a struggle that I go through as a single woman in this season. And I'm sure a lot of y'all can relate, but just bear with me because I don't put myself out there like that, but I'm going to be obedient. So earlier this year, I was in a bit of a funk, just in a funky mood. I was giving God the spiritual side eye, and this all stemmed from a thought that popped in my mind. Now, I'm going to preface this story by the fact that this thought came around that time of month, and ladies, y'all know that we can be a bit more sensitive in our feelings, more emotional during that time of month. So I'm pretty sure this was a factor in all the things that transpired. But nonetheless, yes, it stemmed from a thought that popped in my mind one evening. It was after a long day. I was tired. I think a lot of things were going on during that time. And I was just being open and honest with God. I was like, God, I could really use a hug right now. Yeah, I really could just use a hug. And then the second thought popped in mind, and this is the triggering thought. The thought was like, dang, I'm gonna have to wait till the end of the week to get a hug. Now, mind you, as a single woman with no kids, my social life typically picks up around the weekend times, whether through church or other social gatherings with friends, but it's typically towards the end of the week. So here I am, probably, I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday, and that thought really hit home, like, I'm gonna have to wait till the end of the week just to get some physical touch. And also, too, it wasn't like I was looking for a hug from like a significant other. I mean, that would have been nice, not gonna lie. But I just needed to be touched. I just needed to be hugged. And then I was just going down this rabbit hole of like, wait a minute, Lord, is this the life that you have for me? Is this the life that you want me to live for the rest of my life? Like, Jesus, this isn't right. This ain't fair. What are you doing? So I was just going down this rabbit hole. And so I literally went from being open and honest and genuine with God to now being upset with Him. I was just conflating so many different issues at the same time because I was like, dang, Lord, see, if I had my husband by now, if I had my significant other by now, I would be in this problem. Yeah, I was just going down the rabbit hole. And so I would say almost immediately after going through those range of feelings, I started to feel some resistance brewing up in my chest. I was kind of like, I was questioning God, and I was giving Him the side eye. I'm like, okay, Lord, all right. And so that really did start me in this funky mood. And so this lasted about maybe 3 to 4 weeks. And during that time, in my quiet time, reading the word and going to church, praising, all that thing, I honestly can say I really wasn't receiving it because my heart wasn't in it. I literally was just like, I just had this ought against God stemming from that situation. And so after that time passed, I was like, okay, Lord, I don't want to feel this way anymore. I can't be fake with you. Like, Lord, I don't want this hanging over my head. Can you please get me out of this funky mood? I don't want this anymore. So then He poses a question to me. Do you know that I'm good? I'm like, well, yeah, Lord, I believe you're good. Yeah. He asked it a second time. Do you know that I'm good? I'm like, yes, Lord, I believe you're good. He's like, wait, that is not what I'm asking you. I'm asking, do you know that I'm good? And so when he asked me that third time, it really sank in for me what he was asking. He was really asking, do you know that you know that you know beyond a shadow of a doubt with all confidence that I'm good? And so I responded like, yeah, Lord, well, I know you've been good to me in this area, and I know you're good in this area, but Lord, this area of my life, my love life, and da-da-da-da. Again, he's like, let me stop you before you go back down another rabbit hole. You cannot compartmentalize my goodness. I'm either all good or I'm not. You have to decide that. But do not allow your circumstances to dictate my goodness. You cannot measure, and he said, this is your problem. You are measuring my goodness by what you think you lack in this season. Okay, y'all, when he explained it and broke it down to me like that, it's almost as if the scales came off my heart and my eyes, because I finally realized I allowed those negative thoughts to consume me. Those thoughts became seeds in my heart, and I'm about to talk about that in a little bit. But I didn't realize that in the moment. And so when I'm preparing for this video, I was just thinking to myself, okay, what should I have done differently? Well, Paul clearly outlines this in 2 Corinthians 10, verse 5. And I'm going to read from the New King James Version. It says, bringing every thought into captivity to the obedience of Christ. And I didn't do that. Honestly, I actually was beginning to use my thoughts to build a case against Christ, to start to accuse him and start doubting his goodness. But, as Paul stated, I should have brought those thoughts into an alignment or into submission of who I know God to be. But I didn't do that. Instead of acknowledging and addressing my feelings, I was allowing myself to succumb to them. And don't get me wrong, there are times where it's appropriate to really feel and go through those emotions. But this was a time for me that was going to be helpful for my emotional well-being. So succumbing in that moment was not good for me. And so because I succumbed to my thoughts and my feelings during that time, those thoughts became seeds of bitterness and resentment. That's why I was starting to feel a disconnect from God, giving him the spiritual side eye. And Paul actually warns us against the root of bitterness. Let's turn to Hebrews 12, verse 15. Looking carefully, lest anyone fall short of the grace of God, lest any root of bitterness springing up cause trouble, and by this many become defiled. So yes, those seeds began to take root in my heart. I could literally feel a wedge growing between me and God during my funky mood. And so I was looking up, what is the purpose of a root? So there's 3 primary purposes of a root. The first one being to anchor a plant so that it can be steadfast and secure as it grows up. So yes, bitterness and resentment were taking root in my heart. They became my anchor. So that was what I was using to operate and view God in. And so the second purpose of a root is to absorb water and nutrients so that the root can then distribute those nutrients to other parts of the plant, like a leaf, a branch, a fruit, whatever it is. In my case, bitterness and resentment were certainly moving to my outlook, my vision of God. I was starting to doubt his goodness, giving him, like I said, the side eye. I took my eyes off of God and made my troubles, my thoughts, my main concern. And that resentment and bitterness was actually starting to plug up my ears, because like I said, I was going through the motions of doing what I normally do, but I could not receive or hear it because I didn't really want to, because I was doubting who God says he is. And the third purpose of the root is to be able to store food and energy for the future. Now, in my case, because of the bitterness and resentment that was taking hold of my heart, it was clouding my outlook for my future. I was starting to doubt God's promises of what he's told me about my future. I clearly forgot about Jeremiah 29:11, where it says, I know the plans I have for you, plans to prosper you, to give you hope and a future. But because I leaned into that negative thought process, it started to, again, cloud my outlook, my vision on so many things. And so why is this important to discuss? Because our thoughts can be the devil's playground if we do not put them in check, if we do not hold them captive and make them submit to who we know God to be. And what I should have done in that moment when those thoughts were coming, yes, like I said, acknowledge how I was feeling, but remind myself that God is my good Father. He's my everlasting Father. He will never leave me nor forsake me. That he is my comfort and my victor. I just had to go to the Word instead of me going down that rabbit hole of those thoughts that were not serving me any good. And so, to recap, when we find ourselves in areas, and it may not be from an area of singleness, or it could be anything. Maybe you're going through a tough time looking for a new job. Maybe it is you're dealing with an illness, a disease, and you're just like, Lord, are you really good? Are you helping me in this moment? I don't think so. When we start to have these questions come up in our mind, they're gonna happen because we are human. But we have to make sure that we are going back to the source who created us. We need to remind ourselves with the promises that he's given us. And so we need to acknowledge those thoughts. We need to make sure those thoughts are in alignment with who God is. And just like we need to be asking for the daily bread, we need God to daily renew our minds. Romans 12 verse 2 tells us, and I'm going to read it, that be not conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. We need daily renewal, and we need to make sure we're asking God to help us with that. I hope these points have been helpful for you. Y'all, I put my business out there. Keep me in prayer. I am a work in progress, but God is good. And I will see y'all in the next video. Bye.